They're dead, Dave.
What, Captain Hollister?
Everybody's dead, Dave.
What, Todd Hunter? What, Selby? Not Jen.
He's dead, Dave. Everybody is dead. Everybody is dead, Dave.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Everybody's Dead Dave, our Red Dwarf review podcast, hosted by myself, Adam Martyn, and as ever, my co-host,
Philip Hawkins. Hello.
Hello, we're back once again. We're on Series 5, Episode 5, Demons and Angels, the penultimate episode of Series 5. We're getting there, we're getting to Series 6. It always feels like, I think we've said this before, every time we record, I feel like we're racing through this. And everyone's like, oh, the Golden Age will end soon, you know, whatever that means. I've got no idea what you're all talking about. As always, if you're brand new, hello. The concept of the show, I'm a brand new Red Dwarf fan. I've never seen the show before. This is my first time, and Phil's been well, this isn't your first time, is it, Phil? This is your insert number here.
Yeah, I don't
time,
know the
probably,
number.
Right? Yeah.
It's a lot.
Well, there's your indication. Yeah, two different perspectives on every individual episode. And as such, as mentioned, we're on Series 5, Episode 5, Demons and Angels, which originally went out in the March of 1992, and the synopsis is as follows. An experiment with a triplicator, a machine that can make duplicates of an object, goes wrong, and it causes a red dwarf to explode. The crew escape aboard Starbug, but find that the triplicator has made two copies of Red Dwarf in place of the original. One has inherited the good qualities, and one has inherited the bad. Yeah, interesting. We start, of course, on the ship, as we do, and Lister's got a strawberry, and they're messing about with this machine, and they duplicate the strawberry. And
Did you notice that Crichton here mentions that they've adapted the matter paddle, which is, of course, from the episode Meltdown, where he found the matter paddle that transports them to that world. Nice little callback.
Well, I know he said matter paddle, but yeah, I don't think it registered in my brain that was a callback. Because how far ago was that now in our journey?
About roughly 6 weeks ago, I think, because it's the episode that, as we are recording, comes out tomorrow. And we record roughly 6 weeks ahead, which is why I clocked it, because I've literally yesterday been editing it, and I was like, I've just heard about that.
That's fair enough. There's so much techno babble in Red Dwarf that it must have flown over my head at the time. But no, they do that occasionally, don't they? They have like the nice little call back to an episode, and in fact there's a fair few of them in this one, which
there's one moment where he just rattles them off one after the other.
Exactly. It's like, in case you've been watching the show for the past few years, nice little bit of continuity,
rewarding the long-term fans.
Exactly. And that's what fans want. It's what they always want. And when they replicate this strawberry, they soon learn that you obviously have the original strawberry. One of them is the best tasting strawberry in the world. It tastes, it's got all the best qualities. And one of them has maggots in it.
Yeah.
To put it bluntly.
All the best qualities.
So it's one good and one bad. Yeah.
I like
all good and all
I like
bad.
Rimmer's.
Sorry, you go.
Rimmer's line, because also Crichton says, this could revolutionize our supply issues and all that sort of thing, and he's talking about how they can the speed at which they can replicate stuff, and he's like, or you can get like 5 or 6 a week, or strawberries a week or something with this.
Absolutely. With this little baby running at full pelt, I confidently predict we can have a full fruit salad by the end of the year.
No, you're right, lovely good lines in there. Although I've got to admit, the one line I didn't like was when I can't remember the full lead into it, but I think it was when Rim was like, they'll name towns and cities after you. How about like Dorksville? And I was like, for me that was just like a grow moment, because I think that, I don't know, it just felt like a very, very, I don't know. I mean, did you sort of clock it as well? Or?
Yeah, it was a bit like, it wasn't probably what I expected him to say.
Yeah,
I don't know. It just seemed like a bit of a lame ending to the build up of that. It was like, is that Dorksville? Is that all you could come up with there? Okay.
Yeah, and especially after we know Rimmer can do really good quips or insults. That just seemed like a bit of we're not firing off on all cylinders today. But hey, it's a minor thing. So they also, they discover and decide that they can reverse this process as well. So they try and do that and end up blowing everything up in very typical Red Dwarf fashion, I suppose.
And have to abandon ship because the ship is going to blow up.
That's right.
And Holly gets her translator, what is it? Her vocabulary circuits are fried.
Yes.
Leads to some gobbledygook. My favourite of which is, this is not a daffodil. Repeat, this is not a daffodil.
Yeah. Abandoned shop. This is not a daffodil. Really great. And again, works for Holly, doesn't it, with that whole like deadpan expression as well, like getting it across completely seriously, whilst also being really deadpan. And they flee in Starbug, which of course crashes through the doors because, as we've established, Phil, Starbug is pretty much indestructible at this point.
Yeah. Or they've just got a lot of them.
But when crashing through the doors, I was like, it's Starbug, it'll be fine. Starbug never seems to get destroyed.
It was fine.
Yeah, it was.
Almost. I mean, once they're out in space, they do quickly realise they don't have much oxygen or fuel, which seems a bit of an oversight. You'd think these transports would have a bit more than, what is it? I can't even remember how much they had. It's like 7 hours or something.
Oh no, I think they said it was 5 hours of fuel because it was 6 hours to get to the asteroid, but then they only had 7 minutes of oxygen.
Yeah,
which is a bit like,
how do they go anywhere with only 7 minutes? Why do they only have 7 minutes of oxygen? That was never explained. Why they only have 7 minutes of oxygen?
Plot convenience.
It just seems such a bizarre thing. Like that, they go for more than 7 minutes in one of those Starbugs all the time. So why does it only? Did they just forget? Yeah. It probably is that they just forgot to refuel the oxygen tanks, because that's the kind of thing they would do.
I love the little moment Rimmer has, with Crichton, where he's like, we don't technically need the oxygen. Rimmer trying to be subtle.
Yes,
is great, really
and
funny.
in complete weasel mode as well, because as soon as he realizes that actually his power supply only has 4 minutes, again, why? But there we go. He's suddenly like, oh no, let's work together.
Yeah, exactly. And he mimics the boys from the dwarf thing, which is becoming more of a regular thing in the show now, I've noticed.
But the actual saying, boys from the dwarf and shaking, is that the first time we've seen that?
One in trouble, all in trouble. The posse. The boys from the dwarf.
I think it was in Quarantine.
Oh, was it?
If I remember. I think. Yeah, because I think it's when Rimmer puts them in there at first, and he's like, it's like boys from the dwarf. So, but yeah, only in this series is it starting to become more of a, because obviously I learnt the expression from you, the whole boys from the dwarf.
Well, it was one of my suggestions for the name of the podcast originally, wasn't it? And I had to explain why. It was.
Yeah, but no, this is the first time I guess we're seeing it in the show, so I'm guessing it's going to become a regular-ish thing from now on with the handshaking and stuff. And I've just got to say, going back a bit, I was surprised when Red Dwarf blew up, I should know by now in this show that anything can happen, but I think it's because I'd either heard from someone during this show, or like I'd read somewhere that there is a period of the show where they aren't necessarily at Red Dwarf. We've already made the note that a lot of this series, they've spent a lot of time in Starbug and elsewhere. And it might have been you, actually. I can't remember. Someone just said, there is going to be a point in the show where they will not be on Red Dwarf as, like, the base. So, when this happened, I thought, is this it? Is this the moment? And for anyone who hasn't watched it before, like me, we'll get on to if it is or not later on. But they established that the Triplicator has affected Red Dwarf, so now there are 2 new ships. One that has all the good elements, and one that has all the bad elements. And they theorize that they have to go on both. Well, I think that first they figure out, they don't say they have to go on both ships at first, do they? I think they just say we just have to go on one of them.
Well, no, I don't think they tell the audience that, because I was surprised when Crichton then said later on, we need to go to the other one to get the other bit. I don't know if they realized that or not. Maybe they only realized that once they got onto the good ship, that only part of what they needed was there.
Yeah, it seemed like a weird, because I thought that. I was like, they're only going on the good ship, and then they mention it later. But when we go on the high ship, as they call it, are those the same sets from Hollow Ship that we saw at the start of this series?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
that whole, like, you know, the all very white and bright sets was very much like what we saw in Holoship, which was the opener for this series. And I just thought, you know, it would be typical BBC recycling to say, well, we've still got the set, because I'm imagining all this would have been filmed in like one production block, so I assume they would have still had the sets lying around somewhere. So yeah, I don't know, it wouldn't surprise me if they maybe reskin them ever so slightly.
Yeah. And then the quarters they're put in are basically their quarters, but brighter.
Yeah,
so
studio lights turn up to full.
Yeah, I did wonder, have they repainted it a sort of a more, because it's kind of a cream color in their one, but it's very white here, or have they done that with lighting?
Yeah,
but who knows? The whole ship is like, it's all clean, it's nice air, and how they really know they're on the good ship, there are edible pot noodles. Which is, you know...
Which is actually my potential funniest moment. You'll find out later if it is, but I just think because my experience with pot, as I'm sure people can relate, they're very hit or miss pot noodles, aren't they? So yeah, the fact that this was still a joke back then, nearly 30 years ago, really made me laugh. And the delivery was perfect from the two lads as well, so... Yeah, really.
Yeah, my experience with pot noodles is mostly in a school gym. I may have told the story before. I think pot noodles has come up before in the show.
Might have done, yeah.
But we used to do, when I was at school, like every year they would have all night sponsored like sports events where basically you'd just be in the school hall, in the sports hall, and you'd you know, just go, you play maybe half an hour of basketball, and then you'd go and rest for a bit, and we'd do that all night until like till the following morning, and mostly because we had a kettle there to make drinks, people also brought pot noodles. So that's my like only experience of pot noodles.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't make a habit of going after them, to be honest. So I try and stay away where I can. And we soon, as you say, after they discover that this is the good ship with the good pot noodles, we meet the alternative versions on the ship, the highs of the crew, which are the lads, but all in very sort of that, like, you know, I guess like preachy attire, you know, oh brother, all that sort of stuff, very soft spoken.
Yeah, they're like
very
monks,
positive,
aren't they, in a way?
Yeah, kind of like monks. Yeah, and
spiritual, sort of garb.
Spiritual garb, and I did write. I was like, they do duplicates or alternative versions in this show a lot. Like that, do you know what I mean? Over the 5 series, the amount of times we've seen doubles or alternative versions, and I mean, hey, it's a good use of your budget and use it and keeping your actors cast small. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I'm starting to notice. I'm like, wow, we do have doubles and alternatives a lot in this program. So
we do indeed, yeah. And these ones, I will say this about the good ones, they're all very similar to each other. Whereas later on, when we get to I think they refer to them as the highs, these guys, and then the lows, I thought they did more to differentiate the different lows, if you see what I mean.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there was way more variety. But that's one thing I wanted to... I can't remember if they addressed it. I know they sort of... Well, with the cat high, he says, oh, you know, I'm the part of you that focuses on spirituality rather than clothes. And I thought, okay, so is it implied then that, you know, they're saying the good is extracted? So, and like you say, they're all quite similar. So is the good in all 4 of them meant to be that they're very spiritual? Is that what we're implying here?
And that's how I think the only flaw, I guess they, you know, it serves the plot, but it would have been more interesting if they'd had different highs, I think. Because they've definitely got different lows.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it does. When you think about it like that, it is a bit weird how all of their highs are pretty much identical to each other. But they do. Do you know what? One thing I did like about them, and again, potential funniest moment was when they're presented with Rimmer and Kat's interpretive dance.
Yes.
Which really made me laugh. Just, you know, obviously, I'm sure you have as well. When interpretive dance is given, I don't know, serious commitment or done well, it's great. When it's done like Rimmer and Kat do it, it's hilarious because of how ropey it is. But I really liked it. I really liked that moment.
Yeah, well, look, you've gone to drama school. I've done A-level drama. At some point, I'm sure we've both done some interpretive dance in our time.
Oh, absolutely. And I probably did it just as bad as they did.
I know mine was just as bad. A-level.
It's a very fine line, interpretive dance, isn't it? It's a very, it's a very difficult thing to juggle, I think, as a performer.
Yeah, and I find like anybody that studies drama in any way goes through a stage when they, think, oh, this is gonna look so cool because it's gonna be so trippy, and I'm really good at it. It can be done very well, but there is you might have heard of them. There is a theatre company called Frantic Assembly. Have you ever?
Oh yes, very familiar
I
with
love them.
Yeah,
They are good at that sort of stuff.
They're very good at that sort of stuff.
They are brilliant.
Absolutely. And loads of like that physical theatre stuff is brilliant. Go and check physical theatre out, listeners. It's stuff you won't forget, I'll tell you that, for good or bad. You probably won't forget it.
Don't judge it all on Rimmer and the cats.
Not them. It's a parody. But that is when we learn, of course, as we said, that they have to go to the other ship, the low ship, to get the other part of the triplicator, which of course is dark and dingy, and I'm pretty sure when they first board, we're using the same BBC warehouse that we've seen so many times to represent like the lower decks, and things like that.
Stacked with cardboard boxes,
which is classic BBC recycling there. We love to see it.
But again, they use the lighting.
They do.
To quite good effect to make it work.
Yep, it is. And the High Crichton first gets shot, and I guess to show the highs, he believes that there's a malfunctioning weapon. He doesn't believe he's being shot repeatedly intentionally, and this made me think, because they're all like this, as you say, is this sort of a pastiche on those who, not on like spiritualism or monks in general, but I guess sort of, the people who are like, I'm all about, preaching and being positive and sort of seeing the light in everybody. Is it sort of maybe pastiching that, they see the light in everybody to such a degree that even if they get shot, they're like, oh, you couldn't have possibly wanted to, do you know what I mean?
Oh, sorry, your gun is malfunctioning.
Yeah.
It seems to have shot me.
Yeah. It just, I don't know, it just felt like a friendly jab at that sort of stuff, yes. I guess.
Yeah, I think it is.
I must say, the low versions of the crew, I thought, are absolutely terrifying.
They are. And as I said, they all have different lows, different sort of things that it's focusing on. The cat is kind of, we first meet him, his low version, like literally eating raw meat. So probably because he's a cat, it makes sense. And like Lister is like this crazed bazookoid carrying sort of like madman. Crichton's like a bit of a zombie, isn't he? He's kind of got this kind of twitchiness. Yeah. He's got a different kind of skin color on him to make him look like dead skin, but obviously he doesn't actually have skin. It's all fake.
Yeah.
And then we get
Rimmer.
How would you even describe what Rimmer is wearing?
I wrote, it's like I put at first instinct, it reminds me a bit of Rocky Horror. And then I put, it's almost like a twisted dominatrix sort of character when he got the hollow whip out. It's almost like Rimmer's twisted fantasy had come to life almost.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit sort of S&M dominatrix stuff influence there, isn't it?
Second time in a row we've seen him in drag now, of course.
Yes.
seems to be a trend. I wonder if we'll see it in the series finale. We'll see. But again, Chris Barry plays it so funny. It's sort of, again, that pastiche of the like edgy, I'm going to hurt you because I'm not a very nice person. Like he does that sort of because we saw it a little bit in Quarantine as well, but he does that sort of thing so well.
Yeah, no, it was good. And they all get a chance here, I think, to really. I mean, we've seen especially Chris Barry do it often. He's a great at playing different characters and making them feel really different to each other. But here we got to see the rest of them also do that because they are completely different from each other. Maybe less so. I mean, he is completely different. He's obviously a lot crazed, but you could still see kind of like, it kind of still feels like a version of the same character, whereas the others kind of felt a lot different. Yeah,
no, I get you. Yeah, there's so like all that variety and playing different characters. I mean, I wrote in the next scene, because regular Lister gets captured by the four of them, and ends up being tied up. And
now,
I must. Sorry, you go.
I was going to say Rimmer has that line.
I'm going to lash you to within an inch of your life. And then I'm going to have you.
Have you? Yeah.
I found that funny. I mean, within the scene, it is funny, but there is, given the way he's dressed and everything, is there getting all serious about it now, but is there like an issue with like it portraying kink in that kind of way, in a particularly negative way? Do you think? Yeah,
for sure. Because then there's the whole thing. I mean, if you obviously it's not stated, but I guess you look into it. It's like, then I'm going to have you, but he's capturing him. So is it? It's the whole consent issue, of course. I know that's reading into it, but like you say, it does ask these questions. It's like,
well, that is the implication, and so therefore, because obviously, the problem is that the stereotype is that it reinforces that if you dress like that, that's the kind of that you sort of force yourself onto people without necessarily them consenting and all that stuff. And I think it's one of those things I think we've cropped up before in the show over the past 5 series where we sort of go, right, because of course as I'm sure a lot of listeners are aware, over the last 30 years, societal perceptions and norms have changed hugely. And I don't think I don't know, maybe they'd still have him dressed like that, but maybe they wouldn't, they play it differently almost, so it didn't have that sort of a negative implication perhaps. But I get what you mean though. I get what you mean. It wasn't anything that particularly ruined it for me or anything. It's just something that crossed my mind, and I was like, oh yeah. Yeah,
it's just one of those moments where you go like, right, yeah. Okay then, and just I get you. And the next scene where Rimmer is captured and being taunted by the Four, it felt very, I don't know if you've seen it, but it felt very Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I have not seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Well, it was in a theory, this Red Dwarf was a bit before its time, because there was one of the movies from, I think it was 1994. So a few years after this episode first aired, but it was called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, implying that, and the whole basis was it wasn't just one killer, it was a family of killers, basically, of cannibals. And I think there is a scene in that where you've got the family round a table with someone on it, taunting them and making them do horrific things. Obviously nothing as severe as you'd see in a full 18 rated horror movie. But there are some things that are a bit, I was like, this is quite twisted for Red Dwarf, because they start to remote control Lister. They put a thing at the top of his spine, which makes him subservient to them. And the main thing I thought that was a bit, so it was him eating a tarantula.
Yes, because we've previously established in a previous episode that he really does not like tarantulas.
He does not like tarantulas. And obviously, before
Another callback.
But I mean, before anyone starts, yes, I know he didn't eat a real spider. Come on, we know that. But yeah, just the image, though, of seeing a character eat a seemingly real spider is quite... I imagine for some people that might be quite a bit of a hard watch, because I know a lot of people don't like spiders. So,
I guess so. I mean, it probably wouldn't faze anybody who watches.
It's like, I'm a celebrity gone
get
wrong.
Me out of here. Yeah.
Oh, for snap. Yeah, no, exactly. It just felt like that. But yeah, that whole vibe was like a PG version of Texas Chainsaw for me, or like the feel of it, I suppose.
Yeah.
What did you think of it all? That whole scene of him being like controlled and doing all those things.
It was all right. I didn't find it particularly overly hilarious doing all the things, but I didn't mind it. It from a narrative point of view, it served its purpose in establishing that they had control of him. Clearly, the things they were getting him to do were meant to generate a laugh. I didn't massively find them funny, like him smashing his own nose in the door or anything like that.
Or the hot water.
Or the hot water on his crotch. They were fine. I didn't particularly laugh out loud at them or anything.
Yeah, I think they might appeal more to the younger audiences for that. But yeah, it was as you say, it served the narrative purpose for sure. And we learn from the Lows that they want to basically seize control Well, they say your vessel or vehicle, so I'm not sure whether they mean the high ship or if they just meant Starbug in general. I don't think they specifically say.
I don't know. They wouldn't necessarily know.
I think they just say we want your vessel or vehicle.
Yeah,
so
could be either.
yeah.
I think I assume they meant the other Red Dwarf that still exists at this point.
I suppose so, but it's the low ship, so they want off there. They don't want to stay there. And they set They set Lister off to find and kill the others, and we get a nice little Psycho reference for anyone who's seen the film Psycho. When he approaches Brother, as I call him, Brother Lister and Brother Rimmer, and he stabs Brother Lister, but it's all done in the very Psycho vein, the big knife repeated stabbing sort of thing. So in my head I was like, oh, another little horror pastiche or reference there. So
yeah, I didn't clock that.
Yeah, it's not like they don't do the music or anything, the famous Psycho music, but for me it was just the way like he held it and the way he moved it. It just reminded me a lot of that film, just a lot of horror parallels, I guess. Yeah.
I do see that now you mentioned it. Yeah, and he kills the other two monks, and again they're very much like, oh. I'm so sorry. I appear to have gotten blood on your knife.
Yes, yeah. Of course, that pastiche. Like, of course, it couldn't be his fault. He's not doing it intentionally. Of course not. So he takes out Brother Lister and fades away Brother Rimmer by crushing his holographic center. And but the others have made it back. They've made it back. They need to leave pronto. They've got all the elements of the triplicator, but of course here comes Lister, who bonks Crichton on the head with an axe, which sends him a bit wild, and then proceeds to strangle Cat. And I love that this whole scene trying to solve like what's going on with Lister, the fact he's strangling Cat and they're just stupidly debating about what it could be and what to do. I don't know, I just found it really good. The actors bounced off each other really well.
Yeah, it was a good scene. Was it this scene or was it the next scene that they take me by surprise bit happened?
No, I think it's this scene.
It's this scene. It's the end of this scene, isn't it?
Yeah. Once they get him off Cat.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's a contender for my favorite moment. I think because he's just the way that Lister has got the bazookoid. He's like,
Okay, Crichton, take me by surprise.
Yes.
I'm coming around behind you to take you by surprise, sir. Get on with it. Surprise me. You may get an unpleasant sensation of chloroform. Don't be alarmed. Surprise me now. Here comes my surprise, sir.
Yeah, just relaying everything that's going on, like not making it a surprise at all. But they do sort it out, and they all get back on Starbug, and just as you'd hope, the two halves of Red Dwarf disappear, and the original Red Dwarf is back, to which they return to it. So if there is this period of the show where they disappear from Red Dwarf, it's not yet. It's not yet, folks. But there is a final scene, and it seems that the chip is still within Lister. So over he comes again, and the last little moment we get, they get it off him, but then it falls onto Cat somehow. Oh no, is it? No, sorry,
no,
it's onto. Is it onto Lister first?
Cat again. So they get it off of Lister.
Yep.
But then it goes onto Cat's neck, and then they get it off Cat, and it flies into the back.
Yeah, and then they figured out. But then they shoot Low Lister, who's hiding in the cupboard. So was it not controlling anyone then?
Yes, because then they, I think that's when the two ships merge. So they've got it off of him, and got it off Cat, thrown it in the back. The ships merge, and then right near the end, Lister goes and sits down on the seat in the back, and he sits on it.
Oh
so
yes, that's right. That's right.
And he starts doing stuff, and they're like, "Who's controlling him?" And that's when Cat bazookoids, I think it is
Low Lister is hiding in the cupboard, but they decide not to get it off him just yet. Cat decides he wants to keep it on him and gets him to start slapping itself. And I did notice to end the episode, he actually shares some sort of positive interaction with Rimmer. He shares him a nice, smile and says, "Oh, this is going to be great," because obviously they both in. Because, I mean, we've talked recently, haven't we, that Cat seems to spend a lot of his lines or time just slagging off Rimmer, often with, sometimes with good reason, but sometimes almost just for the sake of it, So it was nice that they actually had a positive moment together. Like, just, I know they've all had like group moments, but it was nice to have like just a moment with the two of them.
Yeah.
Just like, do you know what I mean? I just thought it was really nice.
Few and far between, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
few and far between. So that and then the episode ends. So that in a nutshell is Demons and Angels. So yeah, what an episode, the penultimate. So as we do our regular segments, we start with our favorite character. So who was it for you this time, Phil?
I was torn between two because Crichton, I think, has a few good moments in this. And in fact, my funniest moment is going to be from Crichton. But
Yeah.
overall, I think I'm going to give it to Low Rimmer. I'm going to give it
okay.
just because the costume, the sort of a complete change of character and the kind of the warped, just like I just love the way that Chris Barry played it. Yeah, I'm going to give it to Low Rimmer.
Oh, it's funny you say that because I'm going to give mine to High Rimmer.
Oh,
Or Brother Rimmer, as I wrote in my notes.
is it for the interpretive dance?
It's largely for the interpretive dance, but also just again, Chris Barry does that sort of like preachy. He was just the funniest out of the four for me, out of in the high camp, I suppose. But yeah, largely the interpretive dance. I'm not gonna lie to you, which I'll use to segue nicely into my funniest moment, which was the interpretive dance. It was a close call between that and the pot noodle joke for me because that really did get me. But no, I'm gonna give it to the interpretive dance. But what about you, Phil?
Funniest moment, like I said, one contender was the take me by surprise bit, but I
Yes.
think I'm gonna give it to the Crichton and Cat, brother Crichton and brother Cat,
Okay.
getting killed, and them constantly just assume that the guy's gun has malfunctioned and is accidentally shooting them.
The poor wretch. He has a faulty gun. He's accidentally shot me 5 times. Oh, how I love him.
Brother, there is a grievous fault with thine weapon. It keepeth shooting people. You see? There it goes again.
Yeah, no, good gag, especially when Cat, like when he gets shot again or shot for the first time, and he goes, "There it is again."
Yeah, and it's a good gag anyway, but it's made by their performances. I think they're
Absolutely.
just spot on with how the line delivery and everything with that.
Couldn't agree with you more. And last but not least, how many scutters out of 10 would you give Demons and Angels?
I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10.
Ooh, okay,
A fairly
okay.
high one. I enjoyed it. It was a good episode, and like gave a chance for the cast to really stretch their sort of acting things. I wish we'd seen more of a different versions of Holly, because we did see.
yeah.
I'd say we saw most of Low Holly. We saw a little bit of her,
yes,
but even
yeah.
that wasn't that much, and I would have liked to have seen a bit
No.
more of that. So that was a little bit of a shame, but overall, yeah, it was a good episode with a good plot that kind of worked, and they set it up well to the beginning, and it all was paced really well. Yeah. What about you?
I'm going half a point below you. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Yeah, I did like it. I liked it a lot. I think I just thought maybe the first chunk of the episode was a bit slow for me, or it just a lot of the I guess like the comedy wasn't really landing with me to start with. But as soon as we get the 2 separate Red Dwarfs and they go, like, I was all for it from that point on. So it did pick it up quite massively. But yeah, great moments, like we said, of the different variants, particularly the Low variants on their ship. Yeah, just a solid 8 out of 10, a solid Red Dwarf adventure.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. And that's my score, and that is Demons and Angels. So, folks, you can join us next week where, amazingly, we are already at the finale of Series 5, which is Back to Reality. So I hope you join us for that. In the meantime, Phil, where can these lovely listeners find you and your various works?
Well, you can find me on my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Philip Hawkins, Philip with 1 L. You may be watching this podcast on there now, in fact. But if you're not, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of the many platforms this podcast is available on in audio form, then do go check out the YouTube channel as well, because as well as this podcast, there's content on Doctor Who, the MCU, Star Trek, I'm trying to think what else I've covered. I've covered Masters of the Universe, the new series recently as well.
Yeah.
So, anything and everything really that I fancy that's geeky and pop culture. So come and find me over there. What about yourself?
Well, for me, it's just Adam Martyn on YouTube, Martyn with the Y, and I should hopefully pop up. Like Phil, I also make videos on Doctor Who as well as other pop culture things I'm interested in, like Now That's What I Call Music, or classic TV history and ident. It's a wealth of stuff. I'm sure there's something you'll like. And follow me on Twitter if you want to for my daily ramblings. Adam Martyn AMTV is the @. And we also have a Twitter for this podcast, All Dead Dave Pod. Character limits, that's the reason, before you ask. And you can follow us there for updates on the show, announcements of special guests that we have coming on, and the occasional GIF or meme or something like that. But go and follow us over there for all the latest news on the pod.
Follow us and just send us random Red Dwarf quotes.
Yeah, we love random Red Dwarf quotes. Granted, at the time of recording, if you send anything like, I don't know, post series 5 or 6, I'm probably not going to understand
spoilers.
it. But
Don't send spoilers.
No spoilers, please. No spoilers. We've done well so far. We've done really well. So let's keep it that way. But yeah, all that's left to be said, I guess, is thank you very much to everyone who is listening. We hope you join us again. And me and Phil will catch you next time.
Yeah, see you later.
See you later.